episode here for the MMA Monday here on the Funk It Pod. It's Monday and you know what it means. We discuss MMA. And as mentioned last time, I'm not just going to break down fights that are happening unless it's one championship, then I will break down some fights because I assume you don't get those breakdowns on many other platforms. But I'm not going to just break down and give picks to UFC fights because that's what you get with all the famous guys, Dan Hardy, Bisping, who's always wrong, and all the others. So I'm going to just try to look into more what's happening media-wise, right? And this week there are, I think, three different types that I want to kind of like look into. The first one, let's just look into the UFC pay-per-view, of course. UFC 272, Covington versus Masvidal. And now, what's the media coverage like? And here, I have to say that for the main event, obviously because the main event is off, more on this in a second, but the main event is doing a pretty good job in regards to telling a story. Like storytelling is super important when it comes to media, entertainment, and so on, right? While I adjust my chair. That's super important. Why? Because that's how you get an audience involved. Now, Covington and Masvidal have been telling their story for ages. Best buddies, now the biggest foes ever. Everybody knows that. And it's fantastic in regards to taking the audience on a journey. You can understand how they fell out, why they fell out. You see the different personas. Masvidal, like the super cool gangster, no offense there. Covington, that's like topless interviews with Stephen A. Smith on ESPN. It's fantastic from a storytelling point of view. And then ESPN and all the others go into American Top Team and interview Dan Lambert, for example. And Dan Lambert's, of course, fantastic. He knows how to work a crowd and an audience. He does pro wrestling with AEW. So he's just great at all those things. So from a media point of view, great. Dan Lambert paints this picture of like those two nice buddies, and then there was this falling out, and then he had to separate them in the gym, and he couldn't contain both of them in the gym anymore. And then he told both of them, "I'm gonna kick both of you out if you don't cut it out." And so fantastic story also from Dan Lambert, kind of like selling the whole they are real enemies kind of thing. It's fantastic, well done. You can also see it in Covington in every interview, calling him still for years Street Judas Masvidal. Masvidal like gonna say he's gonna need an ambulance and gonna carry him out and whatnot. So from a media storytelling point of view, they are on every channel. The story is coherent. You're getting involved, and even if you didn't follow for like all the updates, now with all the content that the UFC is pushing out, like those sit-down interviews that are pushing out with Ariel interviewing all of them, the ESPN guys interviewing all of them. Not a big fan of the ESPN lineup, by the way, but more on this maybe later down the road. But yeah, so media-wise, they're doing a great job. The one thing that I've been missing so far from Colby Covington is his take on Ukraine. But maybe that's even too much for his persona, which would be understandable. And he has a fight to focus on. It just would have fit the Trump-loving narrative if he would have like given a shout out to Vladimir Putin or something, but maybe that would be too much also for the Colby Covington character. Otherwise, I think they're utilizing the media rather well in regards to how they always do it, not just amping it up, and not only them, but all the outlets involved. So I think that's a smart choice there. Who am I picking? You don't really care, so I'm not going to tell you, so I can say later on that I was right. The other fights, the co-main, now the co-main is off, of course, because Rafael Fiziev had to drop out due to COVID and apparently being really sick with COVID, so get well soon, Rafael. He trains a lot here in Thailand, so I hope he's well rather soon. Now, in regards to finding like a short notice replacement for RDA, like end of this week, right on the weekend, lots of fighters now jumping up, and like first Islam Makhachev, Twitter war with RDA, great. And I'm not sure if it's really Islam or if it's like his manager, probably. They've been talking trash to each other, which makes the fans want to see it. Like, yeah, Islam had a short notice replacement with Bobby Green last time. Now he can be the short notice replacement. Why not? Another catchweight fight at 170. It's not even catchweight, it's another weight class. Why not? So Islam is in there. But then also Paul Felder posted a picture of him on the bike, like, how many days this time? And I'm I'm going to be ready again. Everybody and their mother jumping in to fight RDA. Kind of find it, by the way, no one jumped in to fight Islam last week, but now everybody's like, yeah, RDA, I'm going to take on RDA. No offense, RDA. Big fan still. He's an OG. But yeah, that's interesting how everyone's using social media. I think Islam using it, or his manager, the best, of course, because they're very, very well versed in the social media Twitter war. Is it likely? I'm not sure. Islam's trainer said he doesn't want him to do it, but then again, it's Islam's choice, of course, or his manager's choice. But from a media point of view, Islam, of course, has the biggest fan, backup in regards to jumping in and fighting RDA. If Paul Felder would be the one to jump in, I think we also would all would lose our minds, because it would be like typical Paul Felder thing again. But let's see who actually gets it. I like how everyone is jumping on social media and trying to make their point with like the beef between RDA and Islam, because they were supposed to fight a few times before. Paul Felder like that's just my thing. So I like it. That's pretty cool. So finally, fighters are using their social media correctly, which is nice. Now back to the second thing that I wanted to talk about is that I haven't seen any fighter speaking out on what happens in the Ukraine and with Russia. And now you're gonna say, yeah, because fighting, sports is not related to politics. Keep politics out of sports. Question is though, can you keep politics out of life? And yes, I know Brian Kelleher said he wants to walk to the ring with a Ukraine flag. Now he changed his mind. He says like, no, it's not because his opponent is from Russia. It's like he wanted to support the people in Ukraine, but now he changed it because it might lead to controversy. So he's going to walk out with the peace flag. Okay, fair enough, I guess. So did the UFC say, dude, you can do it? Did ESPN say, dude, you can do that? That's difficult. Like, I guess in the old days, you would have seen more people speaking out. Then again, maybe you don't want every fighter to speak out because maybe not every fighter is educated on the issue, right? So I see the problem here. However, then once again, if you have a platform, use it. And if people think you don't use it well, they will let you know for sure. Even more interesting, though, I find One Championship, because they have fighters from both Russia, Belarus, I'm not sure, but Ukraine for sure. So they have fighters from all those countries. And I think last week we even saw like a kickboxing fight between someone from the Ukraine and someone from Russia, and they didn't pull this. And this is just interesting, I think. Maybe because the invasion didn't happen as of the fight night. It was about to happen, but yeah. So this is interesting. Like, how do you handle this? I mean, in MMA, you could just say, "Well, you're Russian, you're Ukrainian. Just settle it in the ring right now in the octagon. Let's go." But it might send the wrong message, of course, on a global scale. If you look at other sports leagues, outlets, and alike, for example, in volleyball, the World Cup was supposed to happen in Russia. Now, of course, they didn't cancel, but they moved it from Russia. Obviously, they're looking for a different venue right now, a different country, a different host country. I think FIFA and the UEFA, the football/soccer federations, said they won't have Russia compete right now. And other sports organizations are following suit. Now the question is that a good thing? Lots of athletes, like the tennis player that was in the news last week who wrote on the camera "No to war" or something, he probably can't go back home anymore. Lots of athletes probably do not support what's happening right now. Then are you punishing them anyways? But if you punish them, might not be fair in the first place, but maybe they are the ones that can increase the pressure on the Kremlin, right? It's difficult. I'm not an international relations expert. Neither are you, probably, if you're watching this. If you are one, and you want to go on a podcast, let me know. But overall, it's just a very difficult situation, obviously. What do you do with Russian athletes? What do you do with athletes from the Ukraine? Most of them probably already flew home to fight, because that's just what Ukrainians do. Like the Klitschkos, like Lomachenko, like Alexander Usyk, like they all went back home, picked up a gun and are ready to fight, which is insane to me, but so much pride and dedication towards your home country, respect. Okay, but that's an as much as we go into that, I believe, because again, not an international relations expert. If it were up to me, I think I would probably just, I don't really know. If I were Dana White, I don't know. I know what to do. On a global level, like from my point of view right now, not being Dana White, I'm like, yeah, pressure on Russia, of course. But from a personal level, those athletes probably didn't want to invade the Ukraine. But then it's signaling, right? And it's all about signaling these days, obviously. So, it's so hard. It's so hard to make a decision here. Let me know what you think. I'm really curious about this. Like, what would you want the athletes to do? Would you want Islam Makhachev or whoever to speak out about what's happening in the Ukraine? Would you like Ukrainian athletes to speak out? Would you like the UFC to step in and say, hey, we just cancel all fights of Russian fighters, or we fire all Russian fighters? I don't know. Terminate all contracts? I don't know. What would you want to see there? Or do you say, no, sports is sports, whatever, I just want them to throw down? And let me know what you think. I'm really curious about this, because of course the media coverage also doesn't talk about it at all. Again, why would it? It's not really related. There's no fighter from the Ukraine right now, I think. At least not for UFC 272, so why would they talk about it, right? Understandable. So let me know what you think. I'm really curious. And maybe if I get a few responses, we can discuss those responses then moving forward. All right, so thank you very much for this. On a, again, rather somber note this time. And next week, we will see what happened at UFC 272. We'll analyze how fighters use the media. We'll analyze your comments in regards to Ukraine. Should the UFC say something, do something? And of course, we'll also preview One Championship's upcoming fight, which will happen next Friday. Until then, as always, thanks for joining. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe to this podcast, rate it so more people can find us, because then we can have bigger discussions. Don't forget to always keep your guard up. That's also goes for the Ukraine. Thank you very much. Take care. Stay safe. Sawadee Cup.